Chapter 4 Shades of Blue. Starban spread his palm flat upon the stacked gyprock they scrounged from dusty corners. Crouched on one knee, he closed his eyes and envisioned what he wanted the gyprock to become. Ariasini, he whispered, sneering on the last consonant. Ariasini Thil. The pale gray crumbling gyprock became outlined in a light purple. Eyes closed, Starban furrowed his brow and focused his thoughts further. As he crouched with his palm down, the gyprock transformed into a solid single lump of violet. That single lump sunk with Starben's hand. The changed gyprock also spread outwards, taking on a granite-like texture. It ultimately rose in a circle around his hand, stopping where the glowing rock fire pit touched his right knee. Smiling, Starben opened his eyes and exhaled. The new bit of granite was now deep enough for healthy fire by any standards. A bonfire might be too much, he mused, but this will do for our purposes just fine. His apprentice started filling the bowl with gathered bits of 2x4 and branches that had blown in with the growing winds. The young man then stepped back and waited. Starben just shrugged and sat back on an old tire he'd claimed for a seat. I'm not the only magicker here, the old man insisted. This part is all yours. His apprentice smiled. It's not that hard. Then show me. Okay. His apprentice knelt and touched the closest bit of 2x4. Ari, came the muttered word. Flame caught along the wood, and the youth withdrew his hand, smiling triumphantly. There, what did I tell you? The smile faded as the flame died. There was soon only smoke where there'd once been fire. The wood is damp down here, unlike what you're accustomed to manipulating, Starben noted with a sly grin. You'll need to hold the flame to the wood longer. And burn myself, his apprentice grumbled. Starben nodded. Or project the flame, he suggested. His apprentice sighed. The other wood's just as damp, he accepted. And projecting the flame would be too bright. Someone would see us through the windows. The idea being to stay unseen. That wouldn't be a good thing. Starben smiled. Any other suggestions? His apprentice asked with a nod. Something that'll build a small cooking fire? You could transform the wooden planks like I did with the drywall. His apprentice winced. You have been taught the spells. A quick blush. I haven't quite got that figured out. I actually had them work that spell into my talismans so as to avoid another incident. I heard, Starben noted simply. No time to practice like the present, is there? And there will be no talismans on this trip, Starben added with a quick, flared, stern gaze. As agreed. Starben's stricter expression melted with his apprentice's agreeable words and quick nod. Just imagine a log, Starben continued with a softer yet decisive nod. Work on the 2x4 first, then the others. His apprentice nodded. His expression was anxious and fingers fidgety. Just focus on the image of a log, Starben instructed on. The spell and magic within the words as need be, they will do the rest. They will shape the 2x4 into whatever you have in mind. As long as it's nothing living, his apprentice agreed, Starben smiling patiently. Correct. A nervous nod. Just imagine a log, his apprentice mumbled, closing his eyes. I always did this part just fine. It was the middle where I kept messing up. Just focus. A quick inhale. Yes, sorry. Starben watched his apprentice grip the bit of wood too tight, offering no critique. There was a frown and held breath, but he offered no counter. Ariestil, his apprentice spoke too quickly. Ariestinithil, his apprentice spoke too quickly. His face took on a serious expression, and his breathing thinned. A quick, sneak peek. Ariestinithil, the young man muttered anew with a bowed head. First envision the log, Starben instructed with a quickly hidden sneer. Relax as you envision it. Forcing transformation will only corrupt your vision into something else, and your magic will not cooperate. It will be as confused and anxious as yourself. It will either fail or transform the bit of wood into something equally confused, and that could be dangerous. His apprentice found a smile. Cement the vision, Starben repeated. Do nothing else yet. There was a quick nod, followed by quieter, even breaths. Ready? A shake of the head, then nod. Speak the base command, not the command, just the base spell of change. His apprentice allotted a few in and exhales. Ariasini, he whispered near rhythmically. Good. Now see the transformation with your spell in place. In your mind, watch the plank become the log. Keep your focus calm and true. When you're ready, command the spell to take. Apply the spell. Ariasini thil, his apprentice exhaled. The plank's straight edges rounded, and its external surface blurred. Lines formed, and the 2x4 started to get rounder and larger. A knot was even forming near the one end. Then the newly forming log dropped, and the exterior changed color to an oily black. His apprentice's frown deepened as the new bark under his palm turned prickly, and he withdrew his hand, cursing his mistake. Sorry, he grumbled along with a few minor swears. I had it so clear, too. He stared at the gnarled bit of branch with its 3 fungus spores, twisted bark, and rotted core. Don't know what happened. This place happened, Starbin rued. He touched a different piece of 2x4 and closed his eyes, mumbling the same spell with a more trained mind. The stacked planks soon all transformed into healthy, heavy logs, his apprentice's gnarled branch included. He considered his finished work with a sigh. Something in this place taxes even my magic, Starbin mused, and I was wondering what it would do to yours. So, you tested me, his apprentice rued, and I failed as you expected. No, no, Starbin countered softly. Do light it for me. It should be dry enough to catch now. The bottom too would be best. His apprentice nodded and spoke the word of fire. This time the flame took easily, and crisp crackling of low fire was soon giving off ample heat for any end-of-day meal. I was not testing you, Starbin added with a shrug when they were both sitting down watching the flames burn and meal cook. I was testing this place. I wanted to see what it would do to your magic. For what it's worth, you were doing quite well, and I'm sure that if we'd been anywhere else, that log would have come out better than any of mine. His apprentice still frowned. No sense of what stalks us yet? I can't argue that I feel watched, but none of my searches show anyone here but us. Well, he grumbled with a shrug. Us and 1, 2, or sometimes 3 kids who obviously aren't here. Starbin nodded. He offered the warehouse's second floor a wary glance. My searches end up the same. I can't make sense of our stalking unknown, though I think I've figured out the mystery of our present but not present youth. And what would that be? His apprentice asked, turning the spit and whispering words forward. The skin took on a honey glaze. The mouth-watering smell was doubled in the same act. Starbin smiled, inhaling deep. They're not here yet, he replied with a nod. His apprentice sat back, seemingly dazed. I figured that much. The fact we searched them out and followed that search here, Starbin explained, supports this is where they are. Searches cannot be altered, just redirected as we were talking earlier. They can be changed in minor ways, but never undone or broken. I've decided that fact is still the case. The fact that they aren't here now suggests they were or will be here. But we haven't found any recent bedrolls, nothing anyone's used in months. Starbin nodded, which suggests someone or something altered our search by time. They could not mislead us to another place, but they could have us show up early. The 3 youth we've come to find will be here. All we have to do is wait. In a building that hides something powerful enough to alter our search, his apprentice joked. We're waiting in the same trap the unknown lured us into, instead of finding some safer climb. His frown lifted for a disbelieving smirk. I still vote for retreating to a safe distance and watching. We could interrupt them before they get here. This trap could have been set for them, after all. We likely just happened to do our search and sprung it early, which is why we need to stay. Starbin returned his apprentice's sigh with a simple shrug. What's in here could also be out there, Starbin insisted. Here we can study and find a revealing spell. We have the unknown in a contained space. Out there, whatever this is could come at us from any side. In this case, Starbin insisted, inside the trap is actually the safer bet, and there's no telling what direction the youth will come from. They could slip in when we're asleep or not watching. Do turn the spit, I don't like burned meat. His apprentice smiled and turned the spit slowly around. Starbin took a drink from his flask before tossing it back into his pack where they'd stacked their supplies. And the searches faltering like they are? His apprentice asked. How do you explain that? The one I felt walking through me today as we arrived? Starbin suggested. I believe that one is a natural. His apprentice stopped mid-turn to gawk across. Starbin smiled. I know, the old wizard mused. There are rarely any youth naturally so strong in projection, but I've been thinking on this too, and the only logical explanation is that this youth, somewhere in her teens, I think, this youth is so strong in her mental projections that she has envisioned meeting us here. As such, her echo, her presence, was felt so solidly today. He held up a blue crystal with a shrug. I still sense she's here for that matter, and it's growing stronger. I think she's about to start another vision. I was planning on drawing her into a conversation when she joined us this time. Speak to a vision. I hadn't heard of that. I was shown it once. His apprentice nodded slyly. Natural gifts are most often inherited from parents. The young man glanced carefully across. One and the same? Sarben's inhale was held a moment longer than necessary. Perhaps, he finally conceded. He winced as if unsure whether or not he risked believing it true. The mother was strong in such matters, but natural gifts also skip a generation. A subtle, resigned shrug. We won't know until we meet them. All three of them who we must equally save. They shared a quick nod. And the other two, his apprentice probed. A knife was drawn, and a piece of meat was cut free to be inspected. Needs more time. Magic was applied to speed up cooking time. Sarben was resigned to waiting a little longer. If I'm right, they're drawn here by her. She must be the one that brings them to this place, so their echoes are present ahead of time as well. And they'll be here when? Tomorrow night, I should think. His apprentice nodded, sitting back again. It was his turn to glance around, forlorn. So our unknown will attack us tonight or tomorrow morning to be rid of our meddling before they arrive. Sarben nodded. At least we have a time frame. I was hoping for a little more action, truth be told. I know. I was hoping I'd be able to see what was coming at me, of course, his apprentice groaned. Sarben laughed. How can you know it's a girl? I didn't even sense someone here. Her smell. Sarben waved off the young man's next question. Everyone has a smell, Sarben explained. This scent, though faint, more sensed than anything else. This scent is feminine, but not strong, so I think she's a teenager. Middle teens, I expect. 14, 16 maybe. The other two are less clear. One seems younger, 10 or 11. The third one is older, but more hidden, harder to isolate. His apprentice's frown returned. The third one's only been sensed a few times, much less than the others. Yes, Darwin agreed, he is. He must be naturally strong at concealing spells. A quick shrug. I can't get a sense on where the youngest excels. His apprentice stared at the cooking meat a moment. Do you think this is why none of them have found their way to the school? He asked. Buildings and traps like this one were set up to draw them in and kill them before they could find their way north? Sarben frowned. I now do, yes. Why not just attack them then? If whatever we're dealing with is out here hunting down and killing future students, why not just kill them? I can only guess at that, Sarben grumbled. Maybe some of the youth were found out or killed outright. Maybe that's why the town down there is so well manned at night with silent guards. Maybe that's why the main gates are doubly watched during the day. Arrogance has assumed the enemy won't take the silent route out of town. A distracted shake of the head. I can assume towns are being attacked and their mageborn youth killed before they can answer our summons and find their way north to the school. Those that aren't killed must be strong enough to evade simple attacks, so traps like this one are set up. Those that aren't sprung by lucky travelers like ourselves deliver those youth to the deaths anyway, just more patient deaths. Silence mingled with the wafting smell of roasting meat. The damp breeze pushed up against outer walls and curled its way through each room. The flames swayed as they must. You think this is them, don't you? Sarben blinked a few times. Them. The Algrinai, his apprentice rued with another quick glance around. You think it's one of the Algrinai who stalks us? They didn't actually die 70 years ago like everyone else thinks, did they? They've just been laying in wait, killing future students off before they can join our ranks. The young man stopped talking. A thought furrowed his brow. A questioning expression grew. Is that right? Sarben couldn't reply at first. It could be, the old wizard finally conceded, though the Algrinai didn't rightly ever use such strategy. They were cunning and wise, and you could never predict where they were coming from. But to plot a 70-year hunt? That was never their style. His apprentice smiled. What do you remember of the old days? He quickly added. I've heard stories, but they're only stories you hear over and over again, and they didn't sound real the first time. Why did you sign up to join me on this trek? Starben ventured. You could have offered your apprenticeship to any of the others. You could have refused my apprenticeship, the young man countered with a grin. Starben just stared back across. I wanted to see the world, his apprentice replied more humbly. I wanted to know what it was like out here. Let us hope the Algrinai are dead, and that we aren't being stalked by one of their number, Starben grumbled. He stared into the flames, remembering times he'd rather forget. I was young 70 years ago. His apprentice smirked. Starben frowned. Well, it was true enough. I was living in a mill at the time. My family worked with several others, sharing the toil and rewards. It wasn't a bad life. Darben paused as if to inhale the present and keep the past from becoming too real. I remember them first appearing, he continued through pursed lips. The portals they came through were opened so quickly and closed equally fast, and they cut us down. I only survived because I was knocked back into a corner and the adults fought them off, leading them away from me. They all died, of course. But the Algrinai had been led off far enough that they didn't care for the child laying bruised and bloody by an overturned wash basin. They killed so many people. If it weren't for the blending stones the wizards of my age crafted, we never could have gotten our armies in close enough to the nest to present a proper defense. Otherwise, our armies would never have stopped the Algrinai from killing each and every single one of us. And now those blending stones are used by militia manning those town walls, his apprentice barked sourly, hiding those same armed men from any wizard's gaze. Sarben sighed, hiding them in the dark at least. True enough, he conceded. Are you surprised? Those same blending stones that were used by those jubilant, triumphant armies were swiftly turned on the wizards back then. Men turned on those wizards who just fought alongside them. We'd become the enemy with the Algrinai gone, and many wizards died. Were stalked to death, as the children's game would have it. And we magickers, mage and wizard alike, sought refuge in a place of our own. The school, his apprentice mumbled, where we still live today apart from the so-called real world. Sarben noted with a stiff nod, where pupils like yourself are born knowing only what you're told of our past. I thought those stories all lost to time, truth be told. Alas, obviously not. Why are they expecting a magical attack when none of us have been down here for so long? Could this unknown who stalks us here now be man-made? His apprentice wagered. Could it be they found a way to discover and remove future wizards now? Sarben shook his head. No, he replied with utmost confidence. Man has never possessed such cunning and patience either. What you're suggesting would involve magics they don't understand, and we certainly never shared any relics or talismans like that. Sarben set both hands to the floor, palm flat, and closed his eyes. One by one, spiders wove their way down their webs and scampered silently across the floor to rest upon the top of his hand. When his hands were full, they started up his arms until they reached his shoulders. There they stopped and waited. Sarben turned and whispered select, soft words, left and right, blowing those words along bristling bodies. As quickly as they gathered, the spiders scurried off into the dark, unseen corners of the cracks around them. They'll spread the word and let us know if someone's coming from outside, the old wizard explained to his apprentice's bewildered, disgusted gaze. They haven't taught you that one yet either? No, and I'm not sure I want to know. Sarben chuckled softly. Most don't. What is the case with Iroquois Falls? His apprentice asked. Meat was cut into again. I mean, I didn't expect skyscrapers and flying cars, but a defensive wall 70 years after the fact? And the use of militia? Not even a proper army or police force of their own yet. I couldn't even spot that many vehicles for that matter. They should have rebuilt by now into something more impressive. Most of the smaller towns, Starvin mused, the northern towns at least, have been left to their own. They always were, of course, but more so than before the Black Day when the Algrinai started their attacks. They're kept from necessary resources so they can't properly rebuild again. Starvin shrugged tiredly. Basic answer to why things remain in their old ruts 70 years on? The old man's smirk was sour. The reason the governments allow the populace to live in fear is that there's power in this existence. His apprentice smiled, cutting off pieces and handing some meat over on wooden plates. Sarben accepted the meat with an appreciative nod. They realized how much control they had in the crisis position, his apprentice suggested, and decided to keep it even after the attack stopped. How kind of them. And the people have yet to figure out what's going on? Our studies never suggested men was so ready to just give in. They aren't, Starben continued. But the governments use fear and supply lines well. They keep some cities better off than others. Those in charge know what they're doing. And keep in mind, a lot of the engineers and specialists died in the wars. Most of the manuals and guides have been burned for heat on cold days or lost to time. Machines are breaking and not many are left who can run or fix them anymore. They're kept up in a sense, but not well. Not under the grip of fear the governments are offering. Soon, if they don't wisen up and change their tactics, the countries of men may soon find themselves in something close to a medieval standard. Starben furrowed his brow. What would they do then, he mused pensively, drifting off into thought. What would they do if the Algrinai returned when the world had fallen into such a state, I wonder? There'd be no coordinated attacks or lines of communication, and they've already removed wizard help. Starben couldn't help but find a bigger picture falling into place, but the Algrinai had definitely never known such cunning and strategy. No, he had to be imagining such things. And the emptiness? His apprentice asked. He pulled a bit of brown paper wrap from the pouch at his back. We haven't seen anyone since leaving the school. We've only barely come across enough wildlife for eating at that. I can handle silence in space, but this is a bit much, isn't it? He plied the paper open and handed some bread across. Starben accepted the bit of loaf with a soft grumble. Well, that one's simple, the old man joked. It's nearing winter. His apprentice frowned, both brows lifting. It's a ways off yet, Starben conceded, but the towns, cities, and their like know it's coming. The night's already quite cold, the morning's crisp. Raiders will come with the cold, so the towns bring all their crops in. Their hunters work during the day mostly, as do repair crews. And they're never far from the protective walls at this time of year. All we'll see these nights will be coyotes and wolves, and many a rat, though you're correct. The animal count has been lower than I expected. His apprentice groaned. I hate rats. I almost forgot. Starman pulled a small, folded bit of leather from inside his left sleeve. It was very much like a rather small envelope. The folds had been sewn into place. This is for you. His apprentice made to argue. I insist, Starban added with authority, and I hope you'll never need it. His apprentice caught the tossed item and gingerly turned it over in his right hand, balancing his plate on his right knee. I've only ever heard of them, he mumbled in awe. The inspired gaze became a frown. You don't think I can handle myself? I have no doubt in your abilities. Starban smiled nostalgically as if remembering himself asking the same question in his youth. I have seen you practicing in the yard with fire rings, and we've all heard of your prowess with shifting and voice throwing. His apprentice blushed. I've already read your file, so I know you're skilled and strong enough. If not, your application as apprentice would have been denied. His apprentice shrugged. Then why this? I offer you the seal charm as an emergency recourse. I had intended it as a gift of something rare to inspire you to learn how to craft the same, but that's changed now. We're here waiting to be attacked by an unknown we cannot predict. It may be I won't be strong enough to defend myself, and if that is the case, you won't either, no matter how many credits your teachers choose to bestow upon you. His apprentice quietly nodded. Just keep that close, and if the need arises, use it. Don't worry about me at that point. Knowing you're safe, I'll be free to fight harder and, if need be, flee using spells you've never even heard about. A quick shrug. Teach them to me? Starban's inhale was reserved. Survive these next few nights, he offered, and we'll talk again. He flashed a smile, making his apprentice laugh. Enough talk. We should get to eating, or I might waste away. You've yet to ask me what we're eating. Starban shrugged, wiping some stray white hairs from his right cheek. And I don't care what it is. I'm just glad yet another skill of yours is trapping. They both laughed, allowing the sounds of eating and the crackling of the fire to fill the night. As the flames were dying low, the food was spent. Starban sat cross-legged on the floor and cleared his mind. His apprentice took first tour on watch. I'd rather watch this from far away. Starban nodded. Have it your way. Sitting on the dusty floor with a cool breeze playing with bits of stray white hair, Starban projected himself out of body. Hovering an inch above himself, the old man listened. Sight was irrelevant at the moment, certainly not immediately necessary. He wasn't in a place where sight held much purpose, but a traveler, at least the projection of an untrained youth sending her unconscious mind forward into time to follow them. She would make noise for someone in such a trance as Starban had willingly dropped into. The danger lay in attack. If the unknown that stalked them attacked while Starban was so focused and out of body, he'd have no defense. So he was listening for those telltale signs as well. A scent caught his nose. Burning dust. There was a scent of someone near, but he didn't react. He followed the sounds of her feet as they circled him, pausing as if wondering what he was doing. Those steps trailed off, following behind his apprentice's heel clicks. The young man's steps were silent, yes, but his apprentice was bored, and he turned to see what was happening, so his heels would click on the wooden floor. The softer steps followed his, and Starban decided it was time for sight at last. Seeing a dreamer, seeing one who is in a vision, is difficult, hence the sound. Having isolated her steps and found a scent as a bonus tracer, Starban could visually track the person. Speaking low words an old friend had taught him, he began tuning himself into those sounds, and a teen's body slowly took shape. Long hair and oversized simple clothing became clearer until he could see her clear as day. Joining another on a vision level draws both people together. As Starban was already in the physical reality, he was a solid, unmoving element, so she was dragged to him. Feet dragged and arms reached, but her body had no choice. She was nearly whisked off her feet, sliding along and swerving around one corner until stopping across the fire pit from him in a panicked crouch. Please, he beseeched her. Sit. Speak with me.